Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to what is a rather uncommon occurrence on my channel, but one that I really love to have, and that is a Acid Rain review, or I guess this technically isn't an Acid Rain review when I think about it. It's an Acid Rain, well, it's made by Kit Lau. It is a figure made by Kit Lau in partnership with the Toy Pizza brand that does like the action figure a month mystery box kind of thing, or like subscription service. But this is made by Kit Lau, like I said, so it's technically an Acid Rain figure. It has the same body, but it's part of his new, like, more experimental line called Annex 2179. It's definitely different than what we're used to getting with the Acid Rain line, but it's still within the parameters to where you could probably bleed them together depending on what kind of world you've built for your action figures. But yeah, this is an interesting one, and I'm really excited to get into it. So starting off, this is the packaging. This is the beautiful, beautiful box art. One of the highlights of getting an Acid Rain figure is the box art. I believe it's all done by Kit Lau himself, the creator, and it is just gorgeous. And this one is no exception, with like the cyberpunk Blade Runner style artwork here behind Detective Smith, the Western cyberpunk bounty hunter character. I really like it. I like the design. I'm a sucker for like weird crossovers and just like cyberpunk in general. Like not the game cyberpunk, but like the world of cyberpunk, where it's like dystopian future with advanced technology but like miserable living conditions. So the box is really nice. It is slightly different than what we're used to getting with the Acid Rain line, since typically you'd have like a plastic crate that you pulled out from a sleeve, and this time it is actually just a box. You can see here on the back what you get. It says, you know, full 118 action figure, fully weather detailed, interchangeable weapons, yada yada yada. And then it says, warning, this is not a toy, 16 and up. Yeah, if you couldn't already guess, this is definitely more of a premium figure. It is definitely not a toy. It's not meant to be just played with willy-nilly, but that probably is apparent just by the price. If you know what these Acid Rain figures are now costing, it can be a bit of a deterrent to new collectors. I know I, for one, have had to limit my collection of Acid Rain figures just on the price alone. Unfortunately, it has gone up, and maybe that's due to production costs. I don't really know, but it is it's unfortunate because I haven't been able to get as many of the releases as I would like, so I have to be a lot more selective with them. This is just one that I could not pass up on. One other thing to note is that this is also in partnership with Glios. If you're not familiar, it's like an interchangeable customization toy line. And I know there's at least one Glios Peg in this set, as well as a Glios weapon, or like the weapon and a peg all fit together. So you could combine some of these elements with other Glios figures if that's what you're into collecting. I personally don't have any, so I can't demonstrate anything with that. The figure comes packaged in this like plastic sleeve here, but he is not in there because I already unboxed him for my own personal reasons, because I had to do some toy photography with him, and the toy photography is up on my Instagram. Link down in the description will take you there if you're so inclined to view that, but I couldn't leave him in the package, and it took me a while to finally get around to reviewing him, so yeah, that's typically how it goes around here. I open the figures, and then I eventually get around to actually doing a proper review of them. But with no further ado, let's take a look at Detective Smith. So yeah, I mean, this is a very awesome figure, and just taking a look, you know, at surface level, you can see he has all the typical attributes of a Acid Rain figure. Very nicely weathered, very nicely detailed. The sculpt work is all there. The weathering is nice and muddy and grimy, as it is on pretty much every Acid Rain release that has ever existed, and I love it. I dig it. That's part of why I love this line so much. It's got that post-apocalyptic, dystopian feel to it, and all the great detail and weathering just crammed into a very nicely packaged 118 figure. As usual, we will go over accessories, though there are some that are kind of difficult to categorize on this figure, but we'll go over them nonetheless. Starting from the top, we first off have this really nice cowboy hat with a N slashed into it. I'm not sure what that stands for. Maybe it's a lightning bolt. It probably is some lore within the Annex line, and it'll be revealed as more figures are released and things like that, but it's really nicely weathered. It has a good wash going over it, and it just looks So cool. You would think that like the light blue, the cyan blue wouldn't really work as a figure, as like a very grungy figure, but it definitely does. It looks amazing. So there's that. Then of course there's the scarf, which again is also very nicely weathered with a heavy paint wash, and it just looks, it's good. It's got a good sculpt and everything. It's made out of like a more rubbery plastic, so that's also good just for brittleness and things like that. For weapons, first off, we have this, I don't know, blaster, rifle, maybe it's a shotgun. Either way, it looks really nice, definitely good on the weathering once again. With all the weapons in this line, though, not the Acid Rain line, I should say, but the this figure in particular, but I think possibly the Annex line in general, the weapons are really bendy. So like you can see here, the thinner area on the hilt, it's very bendy, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. This knife is removable, which is cool, but it's also extraordinarily bendy. And again, I know that the Acid Rain line weapons are brittle. I've had several instances where smaller pieces have broken off of them, but I'm just not sure I like the gummy weapons. It just, I don't know, it feels like a drop in quality. As an example, here's an Acid Rain World rifle, and as you can see, I'm being very delicate, but it is very... well, it's plastic. It's hard plastic. It's not bendy. The barrel isn't going to like warp down or anything. If anything, the barrel would snap off, heaven forbid. But yeah, I think I prefer this. Even though it might break and I would just have to re-glue it, I think I prefer it to the bendy, gummy weapons that this guy came with. Again, I don't know, I can't speak to it being the whole Annex line or even like Acid Rain World in general going forward. But just this figure in particular, that's a gripe of mine, but not a big deal. The weapons are still very nicely detailed. I don't think that you lose out on anything like that because of it, but yeah. As you may have noticed though, on the side of this weapon, there's that big hole there, and that is specifically for this little peg right here, which is the Glios Peg. So that will work with other Glios figures, and as well as this peg hole here on the back, that's what that slots into, so that he can have it slung on his back just like that. And yeah, so that whole thing is he could have Glios accessories attached to him, or this could be attached to a Glios figure. Next we have his little hip flask, which is one of those little elements, the little details that I absolutely love. It's super cool because he can hold it in either of his hands fairly easily. It'll stay in there pretty snugly. So, you know, he can be drinking or whatever, but then when it's not in use, it has this nice little peg right there on his belt. Goes on pretty securely. It's not going to fall off, at least it hasn't in my experience, so you know, you don't have to worry about it falling down into like a heater or something and getting lost forever. Then he has this really cool like sci-fi 6-shooter type pistol. It's really nicely designed. I love the look of it being kind of Western and kind of sci-fi all at once. And that can go into either one of his hip holsters, and they go in just like that. Once again, a nice snug fit, so it's not going to fall out or anything like that. And then he actually has a second one, but this one is a really, really cool one because it has like a reload animation, if you will. It's got an action, a play feature. And yeah, both of these are done in that soft plastic, which is definitely good for a piece like this with these really delicate little connecting pieces. I could see it breaking right there very, very easily if it was made out of the harder plastic. But that does lead to some warping. As you can see, the cylinder's kind of off-center there, and that's just from being in the holster. So it has its pros and cons. It could break very easily if it was made out of the hard plastic and it had the same action that it does, which I actually really like this little feature. But likewise, I don't like the gummy plastic, so it's kind of... it's a pro and a con almost, because I like the feature, I just don't like the element of plastic that they used. And now finally with the figure, this isn't really exactly an accessory, but he does come with a standard Acid Rain World neck piece, and that's because I believe that this head is actually on a Glios size peg, so it's slightly larger than your standard Acid Rain peg, and they do, at least they included it, which I appreciate, so that you can pop this joint out like that and replace it with an Acid Rain scale peg, just so that if you're customizing or whatever, for instance, here is my my Bucks Team Argus. I hear that this is a rather expensive figure nowadays. I mean, it kind of always has been after they stopped making them, but Yeah, my prized Buck team member here, you could just pop his head off like that, and now it could also go on Agent Smith's body with relative ease. And if you were so inclined to put this head on one of the Acid Rain bodies that isn't this one, all you have to do is pop off this neck joint here. It's a little tough to get a grip on it, but once you do, you could just swap it over for this one, I believe, maybe. So doing some testing, it appears that the body peg is a different size. So yeah, this is the new one that came with Detective Smith. And as you can see, the body pegs are completely different sized. So I guess you can't swap this larger peg onto an older body, but you could probably put it on one of the newer bodies, one of the newer releases where they use the new torso. So I'm going to keep it as is. I'm not going to use an Acid Rain head on this one. I think it's too cool with the cowboy hat as it is. So we'll just put these guys back together really quick. Oh, that's the wrong one. There we go. We'll put this one back on there, put Argus all back together like he should be. And yeah, just for like scale reference, they are the same height. There's no difference really anywhere else on the figure. It is still an Acid Rain figure base, but it is the new Acid Rain mold, so it has different shoulders, different torso, and improved elbows. But beyond that, it's still an Acid Rain figure. But speaking of customization, as with really any Acid Rain figure, this guy can be completely stripped of his armor if you would so desire, and it could be customized with other figures. So down here at the boots, you can actually just kind of pop them off the standard Acid Rain feet. You can pop off the shin guards, which are just like hollowed out pieces like that. They just slip over the armor pretty easily. You can also just pop off the hip, and I believe, yeah, these are like rubberized. They're a little stuck on, probably just from like, you know, being assembled at the factory, but you can take the holsters off the legs, or you can swap them onto another Acid Rain figure. So yeah, all these parts are modular and they could be swapped onto other figures if you're into customization. I'm into customization, but personally I'm keeping this guy as is because I think he is perfect the way that they made him. I have no issues with him. With the torso armor, I'm not going to take it off, but right there is a little peg, so you can just pop off that peg right there. It's probably a pain to put back on, that's why I'm not doing it, just from past experience, but the armor can come off. You can pop the arms off and remove the shoulder armor there. So really this guy could be used for any number of Acid Rain customs, or you know, you could swap the parts onto, I don't know, a Star Wars figure if you even were so inclined to do so. And that's another reason why I do love the Acid Rain line. The only thing holding me back is often the price, because they're really nice figures, but I don't know if they are quite worth what they're, you know, being sold as. Now then, as for the articulation on this figure, it's pretty self-explanatory. There isn't much else to show than probably what you've already seen, and I guess I should have not even bothered to put this on, but he has the double ball joint at the head and at the torso, so he can get a pretty good range of motion from that, looking forward, up, down, any which way you could really want there. Then for the shoulder joint, he just has a ball joint going into the torso, so the only real range of up and down motion that you get is just the play of that ball joint. So it does butterfly forward and back, it can go down, it can go only about that high up, and that is the new shoulder joint as opposed to the hinge and the swivel that is on the old figures, where it could go up considerably higher. So that's just a stylistic change or a design change that Kit Lau implemented later on in like 2020. Like, I forget, well, no, it was before that. It was like 2018-19 maybe. Into those range of figures, you're going to find that new shoulder joint. And yeah, it changes from this simple hinge and a swivel to a more complicated, but not really detrimental to the overall figure, because it has the ball joint there. Then it has a bicep swivel, so you still get that like side-to-side motion, which is definitely improved for weapon holding and things like that. Then that goes down to a single jointed elbow, which actually gets a really, really nice crunch to it. So it might be like some sort of hidden joint that's in there that allows it to get this deep of a crunch. But either way, as you can see on the older figure, it definitely has an improved elbow system as well. And then at the hands, it's just a hinge and a swivel. So this is a hinge and a swivel, It's up and down, and I believe, yeah, this one is up and down as well. Typically one will be in and out swivel, but because he's got the dual wield pistols, you know, the cool gunslinger style weapons, he's got to have the up and down on both hands, which I really appreciate the foresight in making it that way. At the torso, there is a ball joint up here underneath the armor, so you can kind of see how that is articulated right there. Again, really nice. I mean, Acid Rain figures are just so well articulated. That's one of the big benefits of using them for custom figures. I absolutely love them as a custom base because they're so articulated and posable. It's just, oh, they're so cool. And yeah, you really just don't get this kind of articulation out of any other 1/18 scale figures. TVC is definitely competing, but I just feel like TVC doesn't quite have all the kinks worked out with its articulation yet. Moving down to the hips, you have a ball joint as well as a thigh swivel, so really a good range of motion there. You can swivel the thigh around independently, or you can just swivel at the hip there with the ball joint. Then you have a double jointed knee, which can kind of ratchet around to there, so a pretty good bend as well. I will say with the knees, they take a little bit of work to actually get them like posed in the right position. They might be a little bit stuck at first when you get it out of the box, so just be gentle with it. You don't want to force a joint on these figures that isn't quite ready to move yet, so keep that in mind. During the summer months, these guys will show up and they'll be perfectly posable out of the box, but if it's like a winter month, you might want to be a little cautious taking them out of the box. Then finally at the foot, you do have a peg that goes into the ankle, so it swivels side to side. Then you have the hinge up and down as well as a rocker. So these feet are extremely well articulated, which again, very much appreciated with these figures. I love to see with like the new Star Wars vintage collection that they've actually been doing hinged and rockered feet, because it really is just such a nice feature to have with a figure when you're posing it, especially doing things like toy photography, stuff like that. I know I always say that. I'm always talking about doing toy photography, but that's one of the main reasons why I buy the figures. You know, I like to tell stories with them and stuff like that. So having an improved articulation with the figures that gets it a more lifelike look is always a benefit. And yeah, I don't know if there's much else to say about this figure. I think it is really cool. I think the coloration is probably one of my favorite things with this figure. It has that really nice like teal colored blue as the primary, and then I'm not sure if I really pointed it out, but here at the neck as well as here on the armor on the shins, there's these nice pink highlights, and I'm sure that there are others somewhere around here on the figure, but either way, it just looks really cool. And again, it's one of those combinations you wouldn't think would work. Out of the box, you're like, or maybe not out of the box, but rather in promo photos and stuff like that, you're like, a light blue, kind of colorized pink, very 80s, definitely very 80s styled cowboy cyberpunk bounty hunter. I don't know if I like that. But me personally, I love it. I love seeing like these wacky combinations. He fits in very nicely with some of my dioramas. If you check out the toy photo that I did over on my Instagram, you can see I kind of mashed them up with my Star Wars figures in my crossover cantina. That's my little diorama that I made up, where it's like the worlds combine, you know, characters from different universes end up at the crossover cantina and they all share drinks together. Well, this guy definitely fits in there. He just looks so cool. When he's got all the stuff, all the accessories on him, he looks very imposing, and that you definitely don't want to be, you know, you don't want to have a bounty on your head when this guy's out to get you. But yeah, this is just definitely another fantastic release from the team over there with Kit Lau, Acid Rain World, Toy Alliance. I'm not really sure how that all breaks down, but Kit Lau is an amazing toy designer. I love all of his releases, and Toy Alliance is the producer of these, I should say. That's the factory that produces them, and they're very good about replacement parts if these figures ever break, things like that. So again, I'm very pleased with the line. My only big gripe is just the price. The price is really pushing me out of this line right now. So I've been very selective with what I've pre-ordered and what I have coming in the future. So there will be some more reviews, but don't expect a lot. I definitely can't collect these guys the same way I can collect 3 3/4 inch, you know, Star Wars. Even Black Series is more affordable, honestly. So It's a tricky line to walk with them, but I still love this line. I love the new Annex series, and I'm hoping that they do more figures like this, honestly, with the wacky colors, wacky accessories, and just an overall really cool design. But anyways, that's where I'm wrapping this video up. So as always, down in the description, there's a link tree. It'll take you to my my Instagram if you want to check out my toy photography, as well as a link to Entertainment Earth if you want to order like any toys for your collection. Use that link and you help out the channel, which I really greatly appreciate. But other than that, that's all. That's all, folks, you know. But be sure to check in soon. There'll be more videos, there'll be more reviews, things like that, some customs, things that I feel like uploading on a very irregular basis. But I do appreciate all of you that have subscribed and liked and everything, so it does mean a lot to me that you support me, even though it's not the most consistent YouTube channel out there on the market. But as always, guys, thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in on the same bat channel, but maybe not the same bat time. And as always, I'll catch you all in the next video.